terms of the outcome of this process. What the Mueller report revealed is really appalling, and Congress has a role to review it and hold the president and his administration accountable.
Well, first, it's great that we have Matt and I believe Mary Gay on the Judiciary Committee, to have two local folks on such an important committee at this time, and I think she captured it perfectly. A few thoughts on this, and looking back at the Watergate hearings of 73, 74. Now it's time for Congress to take over the process with these hearings. We need to have, first and foremost, as she mentioned and has been subpoenaed, the full Mueller report, including what is still blacked out by Attorney General Barr. Number two, Robert Mueller needs to testify in front of Congress and the American people. And that needs to be not just an hour, not just 2 hours, but actually going through systematically the entire report, which covers 22 months worth of investigation. And by the way, an investigation that led to indictments of 35, 36 different individuals or entities.
37.
Over 37. There's so many you can almost lose count. 37, which include more than 100 criminal charges. Never before in American history have you had 4 senior officials to a presidential campaign or White House indicted, either already convicted or plead guilty. It is a pretty remarkable record. But I do want to, short time I have remaining, I do want to bring all of us our attention on one key aspect that we cannot lose sight of, and I do fear we are in danger of losing sight of it. For the last 4 years, I served on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Did a lot when it came to support of the U.S. for Ukraine, making sure that our ally remains free and independent, as right now a reassertive Russia is attempting to redraw by force the borders of Europe for the first time since the end of the Second World War. I never imagined we would have a president of the United States standing on the same stage with the Russian dictator in Helsinki, taking the side of the Russian thug over the United States of America. So I want to go also, while we still need to do this and find out about 2016 and what happened then, I also want to make sure we keep the focus on the other aspect of it. And that is why this administration has been so politically in bed with the Russian regime. To what extent it might be, to what extent this administration might be unduly influenced, either because of certain financial connections or because of what happened in 2016. That other aspect of it, the way in which it's influencing policy, in my view, also needs to be part of this. That's why I do want to hear from Doug McGahn and do want to hear from others who have been caught up in this investigation, because we can't lose sight of that. I very much fear that the independent foreign policy of the United States is being sacrificed for reasons that are still not quite clear regarding Donald Trump.
So we're here in Tinley Temple, named after Charles Tinley, who I've learned tonight wrote "We Shall Overcome." The last few days since we received the Mueller report, there has been a shift in tone when I talk to my colleagues in Congress as we have reviewed the redacted report, because Congress didn't get the full version yet. I think the gravity of this moment is really upon us. I think everybody is approaching this really carefully. On judiciary, we have a job to do. I mean, the Mueller report, as Madeleine said, lays out a roadmap for us. I mean, there was no exoneration, even in the first part, regarding cooperation with Russia. If you parse that report out, it says, I didn't have enough evidence to show that there was cooperation. But then again, people lied to me, people took the fifth, and the president refused to answer any questions about that aspect of the investigation. So that's number one. We still haven't laid to rest that part of it. Number two is, the second volume of his report is a prosecutorial charging memo. It says, here is strong evidence of obstruction of justice. And I'm not making that explicit conclusion because I was told I couldn't by the Department of Justice rules. And because those rules say that you cannot indict the sitting president. However, I'm going to lay that out for you in volume 2 in excruciating detail, because you can charge someone after they leave office, and Congress can do that job. So that is where Mueller laid out the evidence so Congress can do its job, so that if we can't get there through Congress, that there could be charges down the road. Number 3, we have 14 instances of criminal conduct that are still being investigated. 12 of them are redacted from that report. So we need to find out what those are. And then the last part is the president's answers to written questions. First of all, as I noted, he refused to answer questions with respect to Russian cooperation. The answers he gave with respect to obstruction of justice, 37 people have been charged so far. I think there were 37 instances where he could not recall, despite having the greatest memory in history. Okay? So the special prosecutor, or the special counsel, getting ahead of myself, special counsel said that those answers were unsatisfactory, and if he had the time, he would have moved to compel the president to testify. But he chose not to, again, passing that off to Congress. So right now, we are just going to keep marching ahead, pursuing our constitutional duty to look into conduct that seems to seriously impact our government. As I said at the outset, I've seen a shift in conversation from members of Congress. I mean, this has gotten very real. It's very serious. We are not looking at this as a political win-loss game. We are looking at, what does the Constitution require? What do we have to do now to protect our government? And we're going to do it.
So personally, I got into government and now serve in Congress because in November of 2016, I was deeply concerned. Many of us were, and I think many of us became active for the first time in a very different way because of that. For me, as the daughter of a survivor of the Holocaust, my dad openly wept, Navy captain, about how he was worried about the future of this democracy, whether we needed to build out our basements to hide people. And that was alarming to me, and that's what got me motivated to run. And that's what hopefully has brought me to the opportunity to serve now. So I am ready to serve. But I also am a very deliberative and contemplative person, and this is grave, grave, sobering stuff that we're talking about. And I share with Mary Gay that the very first time that the tone and tenor of our Congress really changed was yesterday or 2 days ago, it's hard to know, it's dog years, with the conference call that we were all on, and we talked about the Mueller report, we talked about what we would be doing next and how we would be moving forward. And there was a really different tone in the way that we were talking to one another, because this is really serious and very grave. And so people, even people who are more aggressive with impeachment now, people who are a little bit more reticent, we were all in realization of how serious this is. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is I am, I think, the only non-lawyer up here. You're a lawyer? Okay, so I'm one of the few non-lawyers up here, but the best way that this was described to me in the next steps is we don't have enough answers yet. There are more questions than we have answers. And in the House, it's our responsibility basically at this point to indict, to move it forward to the Senate with all of the information we possibly can, the best information and the best opportunity that we have. And so it's our obligation to do that through the judiciary and many of the other committees that have purview into that. The other thing that was remarkable to me on that conference call is only a third of us actually sit on committees that have oversight into this. So 2/3 of our government is working diligently on the stuff we talked about for the rest of the time. And that's also a message that I want to make sure that the American people hear, is that we're not all tied up day to day, every day, and even those of us who are in that particular process. And the last thing that I would leave you with is I'm grateful to be here. We wouldn't all be here if it weren't for people like you. In the back, somebody was holding up a sign that I'd like to say that the only way that we can make sure that this continues is to vote. And your 2 opportunities to vote are May 21st and November 5th. And I would encourage us to continue to exercise that most fundamental principle.
No.
That's a great way to end your answers. Thank you. So we'd like to thank all of our representatives for being here.